I opened the box expecting love. What I got was a legal goodbye wrapped in ribbon. It was gold and perfect, sitting beneath the tree like it belonged there. Like it hadn't been weaponized. I remember how he placed it with care the night before, brushing fake snow off the branches like he still believed in pretending. I sat cross-legged on the floor, robe cinched, heart stupidly full. I wanted magic. I wanted meaning. What I got was paperwork. He said he was running out to get croissants. Be back in 10, he smiled, keys already in hand. I waved, still holding the warm mug of cocoa he didn't sip. The scent of cinnamon filled the room. Bing Crosby sang from the speaker. I should have known. Men like Trevor don't do tenderness, they calculate opportunity. I lifted the gift. It was heavy. No softness, no give. I thought maybe a book, something old, something thoughtful. The ribbon slid off like silk, and the paper whispered as it tore. Inside, a leather folder. Black. Cold. No bow, no warmth. Just a handwritten card that said, "You'll thank me one day." I didn't even open the folder yet. That sentence alone felt like betrayal. My thumb traced the edge of the card, hoping it might change shape in my hand. Hoping maybe there was a joke inside. But my gut knew better. The kind of knowing that lives in your bones before your brain catches up. I opened it. My name, his name, December 25th. Petition for divorce. Filed. Processed. Delivered. On Christmas morning. While our stockings still hung. While the candles still burned down. While I still believed this day was safe from pain. He didn't just leave me. He scheduled my devastation. The folder dropped from my lap like it rejected me too. I stared at the blinking lights, the tree glowing in mock celebration. This was supposed to be the day we reset, I thought. The day we'd finally stop pretending and start repairing. Instead, it was the day he finalized my erasure. I picked up the card again. You'll thank me one day. No apology. No remorse. Just arrogance dipped in ink. I wanted to scream. To break something. But instead, I sat still. I didn't give him that. Not yet. He bet I'd cry. He wanted that image seared into my memory, me, sobbing on Christmas morning, holding his closure like a curse. I walked to the window and watched snow fall without sound. Each flake felt like a reminder of how quiet cruelty can be. I remembered last Christmas, how he gave me a necklace with my birthstone, how he kissed my shoulder while I made dinner. Lies, I realize now. Rehearsals for the finale, the coffee. Bodbapat. I didn't move. The silence was thicker than grief. It was abandonment laced with timing. Trevor didn't leave out of anger. He left out of strategy. He wanted the most impact with the least accountability. Christmas was just another stage for his performance. I finally stood, the folder in my hand, and walked into the kitchen. I laid it next to the centerpiece of pine cones and cranberries I'd arranged hours before. Beauty beside betrayal. Ceremony beside cowardice. I poured myself the coffee he never returned with, black, bitter, necessary. I picked up my phone. No new messages. Just his name on the screen from an hour ago. One text, "Don't make this harder than it is." He wanted peace. Not mine, his. He wanted to walk away with a clear conscience and no evidence of damage. But I wasn't going. To clean up his mess. I sat back down at the tree, folder on my lap, hand on my knee to steady the shaking. I wasn't going to cry. Not yet. Not for him. I had cried enough over the last year, over every withdrawal, every unanswered question, every night he turned away. But not for this. Not for this stunt. The lights on the tree blinked like they didn't know any better. My stocking still hung with my name embroidered in silver. I stared at it, hollowed out. But I knew something then, something clear and cold. This story wouldn't end with me broken beneath a tree. He didn't wrap the gift to surprise me. He wrapped it to destroy me, but I was already picking out the bough for what I'd give him next. I used to believe Christmas fixed everything. As a little girl, it was the one day my parents didn't scream, didn't disappear into separate rooms. We'd sit on the floor with cheap cocoa and pretended the world was soft. I carried that belief with me like armor. Even after the first betrayal. Even after Trevor. We met in December. A rooftop party. He handed me a plastic cup of eggnog and said, "You look like someone who rewatches Love Actually too many times." I laughed, because it was true. He was charming, magnetic in the way that made you feel chosen just by being near him. I didn't know that magnetism was a warning. The first few Christmases were beautiful. Matching pajamas. Late-night gift wrapping. Breakfast in bed with powdered sugar on the sheets. He'd smile like I was his favorite present. He even cried one year, holding the snow globe I gave him with our initials etched in silver. I thought it meant he felt it too. But now I wonder who he was performing for. We made traditions. Tree trimming the Saturday after Thanksgiving. The same holiday playlist, in the same order. Ornaments from every place we visited. I thought the rituals made us real. But maybe I was just giving meaning to routines he used to keep me distracted. The cracks started small. One missed holiday dinner. One rushed shopping trip. Too busy, he'd say. Work's a mess. I understood. Or I tried. Because when someone you love pulls away slowly, you don't feel it until you're cold and alone and they're already gone. Last year, he forgot to buy a tree. I cried and went out alone, dragging it up the stairs myself. He didn't even look up from his laptop. I decorated it in silence, told myself he was just tired. That next year would be different. It was. Just not in the way I hoped. He stopped participating in December. No lights, no playlists. When I asked why, he said, "Why does it matter so much to you?" I didn't know how to answer. It wasn't about the tinsel. It was about trying. About magic. About feeling like someone cared enough to create something beautiful, even if only for a season. I started doing it all alone. The baking, the wrapping, the charity drives. And when people praised our home, our parties, I smiled and said, "Thank you," while he stood in the corner scrolling his phone, already absent in the middle of celebration. Our bedroom became quieter. Our conversations more practical. Grocery lists. Bills. Schedule conflicts. We stopped dreaming out loud. Stopped touching in the kitchen. I held it all together with garland and cookies and hope. He held nothing. Kendra used to tease me. "You treat Christmas like therapy." She wasn't wrong. I did. Because it worked. Until it didn't. Until the lights didn't reach him. Until the gifts felt like bribes. Until my joy became his irritant. He used to say he loved how I brought life into everything. But last December, he said, "You exhaust me." I thought he meant the mess. The noise. Now I think he meant me. My presence. My refusal to be dimmed. I stayed because I loved him. Because I remembered who he used to be. Because I believed in the man who cried over a snow globe. But maybe that was just another performance. Another role he played until the lights dimmed and I was the only one left clapping. Christmas was my favorite lie, because it let me believe I was still chosen. It started in whispers, subtle shifts he thought I wouldn't notice. A missed kiss here, a delayed reply there. He stopped commenting on the holiday menus I planned, stopped laughing at the traditions we once built together. At first, I told myself he was stressed. Men like Trevor always hide behind work. But this was something colder. He began sleeping on the couch, because of back pain. But the bed didn't feel different, it was him that changed. He stopped turning toward me in the night. Stopped reaching. Stopped showing up for the little moments that made us real. I wasn't just lonely, I was invisible in my own marriage. He started spending weekends out, always vague. Networking drinks, emergency closings. I never saw photos. Never met the people he mentioned. When I asked for details, he'd scoff. "You really think I'd lie about this?" His offense became his shield. And I kept letting him hide behind it. Then came the passwords. Changed suddenly. "Security update," he said. But my gut twisted. Not because I wanted to spy, but because we never had secrets before. He was locking me out of more than just email. He was locking me out of us. He started mocking my joy. If I hummed while baking, he rolled his eyes. If I talked about holiday donations, he said, "What's the point?" If I got excited over twinkle lights, he'd mutter, "You act like a child." He started treating joy like it was weakness. Like I should feel ashamed of hope. I stopped showing him things. The tree I decorated alone. The gift list I curated with care. The letter Daisy wrote for Santa that made me cry. I stopped trying to include him, and he didn't notice. Or maybe he noticed and preferred it that way. Distance made room for escape. Point one night, I found a receipt in his coat pocket, for a spa weekend. 2 guests. I stared at the date. It was the same weekend I'd been sick in bed with the flu, while he said he was at a real estate retreat. My stomach dropped, but I didn't confront him. Not yet. I wanted to know before I accused. Kendra had started acting strange too. Distant. Short replies. Canceling plans. She used to be the one I called at midnight. But lately, she was always tired. Or busy. I chalked it up to life. But something in my gut whispered otherwise. A whisper that turned into a scream on Christmas Day. He'd begun complimenting me in public but criticizing me in private. To friends, I was the best wife, so creative, unmatched energy. But at home, he sighed when I walked in the room. Flinched when I reached for his hand. Rolled his eyes when I brought up anything emotional. There were times I'd hear him on the phone, laughing in that tone he hadn't used with me in months. I asked once, "Who was that?" He paused, said, "Just work." But the silence after that word was long. And the smile on his face didn't match the name he'd given me. Our fights got quieter. More passive. More surgical. He didn't yell, he dismissed. He minimized. If I cried, he left the room. If I raised concerns, he said I was too much. Soon, I stopped fighting altogether. Because fighting alone isn't a conversation. It's a funeral. I remember sitting by the window one night, watching snow fall and realizing I couldn't remember the last time he looked at me like I was someone he loved. I still wore his ring. Still kept his name. But I wasn't his anymore. And deep down, I think I knew something was coming. I just didn't know he'd time it for Christmas morning. My hand shook as I reached for the envelope. Even in the glow of the tree lights, the ceiling flap looked ominously crisp. The scroll of paper inside was heavier than expected. It felt like betrayal in physical form. Snow fell quietly outside, the world still beautiful, still safe, except for the darkness Trevor had arranged beneath our roof. I unfolded the petition with trembling fingers. Petitioner, Trevor Quinn. Respondent, Marley Quinn. It read like a script I hadn't auditioned for. It listed grounds for dissolution, custody terms, property division. Everything we built. All reduced to bullet points in a legal filing. I realized, then, that this wasn't an accident. He timed it for maximum rupture. The note on top read in elegant cursive, "You'll thank me one day." That line twisted inside me like a knife. Gratitude for being erased? For losing my family traditions? For being ambushed on the day I believed in miracles? He didn't want closure. He wanted spectacle. A punchline at my expense. Then memories crashed in. Last Christmas, him closing the blinds as I spoke about growing our family. The year before that, empty seats around the dinner table when he said he had to take care of something last minute. The fake laugh he'd given me while I unwrapped his present. It wasn't loyalty, it was planning. I curled up under the tree, petition folded in half against my chest. I stayed there, breathing in its smell, pine, cinnamon, hope. It felt like I was hugging broken glass. The contrast between the warmth of tradition and the coldness of his betrayal hit me with suffocating force. I realized I was grieving someone who'd never served notice of departure. The cord of the tree lights felt electric. Each bulb a reminder of how light could be weaponized into silence. My tears fell in time with the blinking bulbs, blinking. I didn't sob. I went numb. Used to fleeing. But this time I was trapped under decoration and deceit. And I couldn't move. I called Daisy. She answered, voice yawning, still in her pajamas. Aunt Marley? I tried to speak. Couldn't. I sent her a picture of the petition. Within seconds, her voice was thicker than mine. Are you okay? I lied. Said I was cold. Wrap up, she said. And save cookies for Santa. Innocence in her words felt like a slap. I looked at the orphaned ornament I'd painted with Daisy, tiny handprint in red glitter. I remember the night she asked, why does Santa let people leave? I hadn't known how to answer. Now I did. Because I realized this wasn't about us disappearing. It was about someone deciding who stays, and who doesn't. I dropped the papers and ran to the bathroom, slammed the door, screamed into the tile. Not just for me, but for Daisy. For every year ahead she'd ask why Christmas didn't feel like Christmas anymore. Sobs shook me until my voice cracked. It wasn't graceful. It was necessary. The pain needed to name itself. I stared at myself in the mirror. My makeup blurred, mascara on my cheeks looked like tears I didn't cry yet. I pressed my head into my hands. I didn't see husband. I didn't see partner. I saw a man who leased his love, only to repossess it on Christmas Day. I realized how profoundly I'd been reduced in his mind. From marriage to contract to casualty. That was the moment everything changed, when I no longer saw the man beneath the bough. The silence after the shock is the part no one warns you about. It's not cinematic. It's not poetic. It's an ache in your ears. A scream your body swallowed. I sat in my kitchen staring at a peppermint candle I forgot to blow out. It flickered. As if nothing had happened. As if the world hadn't shifted beneath my feet. I threw my coffee mug against the wall. The crash echoed like truth. I watched the cocoa drip down the tiles like blood. Trevor took everything, not just the love, not just the trust, but the season. The one thing I thought was mine. The only thing I still let myself believe in. I wanted to scream his name. I wanted to call him and let it rip. But he wouldn't answer. He didn't want to witness my unraveling. He wanted to imagine it, safely, distantly. He wanted the image of me alone, crying, ruined. That was his final gift. His fantasy. But I wouldn't give it to him. I curled on the couch and hugged my knees. For the first time, I hated this home. The garland felt like a joke. The lights mocked me. Every decoration I'd hung now screamed one word, fool. And maybe I was. For believing he'd stay. For thinking magic could fix manipulation. I stopped breathing for a moment, just long enough to scare myself. My chest refused to rise. My fingers tingled. That's what grief does when it swells too fast. It eats space. I forced air in. Shaky. Sour. I counted the ornaments like they were lifelines. I made it to 12 before the sobs came. This wasn't heartbreak. This was sabotage with tinsel. He'd timed it. Calculated it. Withheld affection just long enough to disorient me. I saw it all now. The spa receipt. The silence. The sudden shift in Kendra. The way he complimented me in front of others only to vanish at home. He was shaping the story. Not ending it, editing it. I called my sister. No answer. Called again. No response. Everyone was busy. Christmas morning. I was supposed to be surrounded by love, by voices, by warmth. But I was a headline he hadn't sent yet. A plot twist no one had been given permission to see. He controlled the script. Until now that I crawled to the tree, ripped the gold bough off the top of the folder. I tied it to my wrist like a scarlet letter. Like a reminder. He wanted this day burned into my memory. Good. I'd make sure it was burned into his too. I opened every drawer looking for my old photo albums. Found the one. From our first Christmas together. We looked happy. But now I saw the distance in his eyes even back then. I tore the photo out, not to destroy it, but to claim it. I was the one who smiled like it meant something. Not him. I replayed his last words in my mind, "Don't make this harder than it is." That line said everything. He didn't want consequence. He wanted control. I whispered, "You made it harder the moment you chose Christmas." I meant it. Because betrayal is one thing. But betrayal wrapped in joy? That's cruelty. I lay down on the floor, cheek pressed to the hardwood, arms folded. I didn't cry anymore. I didn't move. I just stared at the twinkling lights reflecting in the glass of the broken mug. It felt poetic. But it wasn't. It was just mess. Sharp. Real. Unscripted. Somewhere in that stillness, a switch flipped. I wasn't going to spend this holiday bleeding. I was going to make him wish he never picked. December 25th. Late that night, I pulled out my laptop and opened our shared accounts. The folder titled Holiday Funds was untouched, Christmas expenses stalled. Then I noticed separate charges, candles, spa, travel, billed to his private card. And always to a city I didn't recognize. New York. Orlando. I clicked the calendar, those dates aligned with my flu weekend. He left while I lay sick, and spent the time building the betrayal. Next, I scrolled through travel itineraries. He booked flights for 2 during Christmas week, companion. Unknown in guest details. His company credit card paid for them. I hovered over the name he listed. It began with a K, Kendra. I locked the screen. My heart pounded, but my mind was clear. He thought I'd look away. But I was looking directly at the pieces of their plan. I called Daisy into the room. She glanced at the receipts, then at me. Silent understanding passed between us. We screenshot every line. Date, time, amount. A timeline emerged, December 17th to 20th. Kendra's name appears in confirmation under Travel Companion. The betrayal wasn't a spark. It was a fire premeditated for me to walk into. I messaged Kendra, "Are you with him now?" No reply, just the last seen timestamp. It hit me, she wasn't just his partner. She was his co-conspirator. My best friend of 20 years planning my Christmas undoing for months. It wasn't enough for him to leave. They had to humiliate me, even with her participation. I dug deeper into our shared insurance. Found claims filed for a joint policy, denied, yet. Receipts for spa treatments and dinner packages under her name. More evidence. Each file felt like strands, they wove a web. It wasn't just about financial deceit, it was emotional sabotage built brick by brick around a tree I once decorated for them both. I printed everything at my office's copier at 2 a.m., charges, itineraries, receipts. As the pages fell, I felt the pattern solidify. The betrayal I'd felt as a surge became something systemic. He timed the divorce. She timed the holiday. And now, I would time their exposure. I made copies. Folder after folder. One for my lawyer. One for Daisy. One for my own archive. I wasn't collecting ammo, I was collecting truth. Each line item a word and a statement he couldn't delete. They bet on my silence. On my tears. On the magic getting in the way. They were wrong. Then I drafted my text to Trevor. I found the receipts. Kendra shows up in the charges. "You built this, on me, for me." Answer. I hit send. He didn't reply. But the act wasn't for him anymore, it was for me. I had shifted. From victim to investigator. From heartache to strategy. A file folder titled Christmas Betrayal lay on my desk the next morning. Under it, the broken mug, pine needles still clinging from last week, the gold ribbon I'd cut from the folder. I draped it across the top. Like a mark of triumph, not surrender. I was reclaiming every shard of that day, and about to put it on display. He thought I wouldn't connect the dots, but I built the pattern. I arrived at his office 2 days later, uninvited, unannounced, unbothered. The front desk girl looked up, startled. "He's not expecting." I walked past her. My heels clicked like a countdown. Trevor looked up from his desk, smile faltering. Kendra was in the corner, mid-laugh, her face draining color when she saw the folder in my hand. I placed it on his desk. Labeled in gold Sharpie, since you love wrapping things. His smirk twitched. I didn't sit. I didn't blink. I said, you gave me papers. I gave you exposure. He opened it. Printed receipts. Travel confirmations. Companion names. And screenshots, plenty of those. His silence was my satisfaction. Kendra stepped forward. This isn't what you think. I turned to her. Calm. Cold. I think you spent the week I had the flu at a 5-star resort with my husband while pretending to send me soup. She froze. Trevor stood, but I held up a hand. Sit down. I'm not finished. I sent the documents to both your company's HR and legal departments. You violated corporate policy. And I contacted the press. Trevor's jaw clenched. What press? I smiled. The one that loves stories about power couples, scandals, and holiday betrayal. I slid my phone across the desk. The article was already live. Real estate mogul's holiday affair exposed. Divorce gifted on Christmas morning. He lunged for the phone. I let him. Kendra was trembling. I turned to leave, but paused in the doorway. Oh, and the card. You left me? I framed it. You'll thank me one day. I laughed. Turns out you were right. Then I walked out, the sound of chaos rising behind me. Back home, I posted the story link on social media, with a single caption, he bet I'd cry. I gifted him regret. Messages poured in. Women. Strangers. Allies. Every woman who had ever been blindsided on a holiday, every survivor of seasonal sabotage. I wasn't alone anymore. And I made sure neither were they. That night, I lit a new candle. Pine and smoke. The scent of closure. I took the gold ribbon from the original gift, tied it into a bow, and placed it around the framed note. My trophy. His words. My ending. A few days later, his lawyer called. Trevor would like to discuss a private settlement. I said nothing. Then calmly, tell him to read the article again. I already settled. Publicly. I hung up. There was no offer that could match the justice I'd already claimed. I didn't ruin Christmas. I saved it, for every woman who ever got betrayal instead of a gift. It's strange how peace returns, not loud or sudden, but quietly, like snow settling after a storm. January came, and for the first time in years, I didn't dread the silence. I embraced it. The blinking lights were gone, but the fire inside me still burned. Not in pain, but in power. I donated every decoration we bought together. Kept only one ornament, the red glitter handprint Daisy made. It reminded me that love doesn't vanish when men do. It transforms. It sharpens. It teaches. That ornament now hangs in my office, a reminder that I survived the day designed to break me. My lawyer finalized the divorce with terms I chose. Full ownership of our home. My name cleared from his debts. A financial clause that ensured he'd pay, monthly, silently, consistently. And Kendra? Last I heard, she lost her job. Some say she moved to another city. I don't care. She left. The wreckage they built behind Daisy came over one weekend in February. We made cocoa, lit a new tree, even though the season was long gone. She asked, do you still love Christmas? I paused. Then smiled. I love what I made from it. She nodded, serious as a child can be. That's better. I framed the article, too. Not for vanity. For memory. For every time I start to doubt myself. Every time I wonder if the story was too much. It wasn't. It was exact. Necessary. Earned. There's power in turning the moment that tried to destroy you into the moment you. Rose. Trevor never responded. Never apologized. I don't need him to. Because apologies aren't currency where I live now. Truth is. Boundaries are. Power is. And I've reclaimed everyone. I'm not just divorced. I'm redesigned. I started writing again. Not emails, not reports, stories. About resilience. About survival. About how sometimes the people who love you most are the ones who plan your downfall, and how you can rise anyway. Readers came fast. The messages, faster. One wrote, I was served on New Year's Eve. I thought I was alone. I wrote back, you're not. The tree we used to put up together now sits at the curb, stripped. The box I got the divorce in? I burned it. The ashes went into the garden. Come spring, I'll plant lavender there. Something soft, that fights to grow back stronger every year. Something like me. On Christmas morning, next year and every year. I'll wake up and remember, but not the pain. I'll remember the choice I made. To answer betrayal with clarity. To answer silence with exposure. To answer cruelty with elegance. He tried to ruin Christmas. I made sure he remembers it forever.